Hey, everybody, welcome back to the Like Attracts Like podcast. Thank you guys so much for joining me on the show today. Today, after years and years and years, finally, I have an amazing human. I do say a good friend and now author, John Rota, on the podcast. And I'm really excited to have you here. I'm grateful that you took the time to come on the show, and I'm really excited to talk about you. You have a book out. You have a book that's coming out, Let Go, Let Golf, and we're really eager and excited to hear all about it, how it happened, and your creative process, my friend. What's going on with you?
Well, thank you for having me. It's been 4 years coming, I believe,
Yeah,
since I
absolutely.
wanted to be a guest here. Everything's well. The book is coming out in May, so I'm deep into the marketing aspects and strategies and stuff like that, and I'm excited to share it with the world.
Yeah, I've known you for about 4 years. What would you say the origin of the book is? Like, where did this was this something you've always had an idea that you wanted to do? Did you always want to be an author? Did you always have a title? Like, how did this kind of like form itself where you went from somebody who was not writing a book and didn't have the idea and the flow state to someone who is about to release it?
Yeah, I had this. Golf was a activity I always played with my grandfather and my father growing up, but I was never really that serious about it. And but I have a lot of lessons. The book has a lot of different autobiographical anecdotes about my grandfather teaching me different techniques and stuff like that. And that's kind of when I started writing, it started to come back to me, the origin of the game for me. But the real origin of the book was when I lived in Los Angeles and I used to play a lot of golf there. And me and my friend Scott, we used to, be chipping and putting and practicing all the time. I got a lot better because the weather's better and you can play all the time. And we used to work at HBO and meet after work at these places and play at night, play night golf at this place called Westchester. And so, long story short, is we used to do a lot of unorthodox things. We used to be hitting, you know, drivers or three woods into the Venice Beach, beach at night and toward the lifeguard towers, or we would be playing night golf and playing fast, and it taught us how to like kind of, how to play with purpose and like be efficient with what we're doing. And then we used to play little games on the chipping green, and then we used to say to ourselves, who would benefit from this? Everybody, anybody who plays golf would really benefit because it's an unorthodox way to play. And it's from an amateur's point of view, which makes the difference. It's not like Tiger Woods from the heavens telling you how to play golf. This is a guy that you could be paired with next Sunday who understands the level you're at and how to approach the game in a way that you can improve it. So, it's just unorthodox fun games, and that's how it evolved. But then the other thing about it is that because I waited 10, 12 years to write it, it started to become more of a mindfulness self-improvement book because I read a lot of those authors, the Nevilles, the Alan Watts, the Carolyn Mace, and the Marcus Aurelius and the Bruce Lee, and it became more of a dovetailed self-help book through the lens of golf.
So when you started playing originally, how long ago? Like, how long have you actually been playing golf
I've been
for?
playing since I was a young teenager, so I 15, 16 is when I started. So it was late actually,
Yeah.
and then my dad used to bring me on corporate outings and I used to hit the ball pretty good. And I used to go to these really cool country clubs and be on his expense account and hang out with these Dun and Bradstreet executives and listen to them make deals. And so it became like that for me. Like I saw the finer things in life with it and how it was a business tool and how it was fun to play. And like, it was just, we kind of were, free lunches and cool locker rooms and interesting swag and all sorts of stuff. So I kind of got used to it there. And then I used to play in the backyard a lot. And so it became that. But I played in high school. I actually quit baseball and played in high school
Oh, wow.
my senior year. And I had a blast doing it. Played free golf and it was really fun. And then after that, I didn't really wasn't super into it. I was always like naturally pretty good at it, but I was never like hardcore about it until I moved to LA when I hung out with more people that played well and played more often. And then I started playing more often and I got better clubs and I got more interested in the game. And then that's when I started going down the rabbit hole of like Ben Hogan's 5 Lessons, the literature of golf, which is there's a plethora, a myriad, a library of crazy amount of authors and old school books. The Harvey Penick's Little Red Book is one of them, and Ben Hogan's 5 Lessons, and Tom Watson and Jack Nicklaus and Arnold Palmer, all of them have books. And I basically wrote my book in homage to those books. It's sort of a throwback to the old books. That's why I have these old illustrations in it, and it's sort of written in the vein of like a self-help book slash guide. It's like I call it a grinder's handbook.
Yeah. So that's the very interesting kind of aspect of this book for me, and reading it and realizing like I've been an athlete for the majority of my life, and I understand how to, like, when you're excited by something that you really enjoy doing, how that there's kind of like a few different processes that happen, right? There's like this want to do it. It's almost like stepping outside of your life to go do this thing, right?
Mhm.
It like almost exists in its own place in space, right? So um this idea that like here's regular life, and then here's this thing that I love and enjoy doing, and it's like you can never be more in the moment than when you're doing something that you love and enjoy.
Correct.
And a lot of
Correct.
people compare their regular lives, we'll say, right, the meat and potatoes of life and relationship, as being maybe, let's just say that the average human doesn't maybe stay in the moment as often as they would like, because they're worried about the past, they're worried about the future, they're worried about X,
Yep.
Y, and Z, like the mind, the attachment to the mind,
Yep.
and its stories and its expectations and its judgments. Like that seldom happens when you are in the moment. When what you're doing requires your full presence, right? And then so now you have this thing that you love and you enjoy. You found it when you were young. It's your grandfather, right? Didn't you like used to go
Yes.
out and like with
My
your
grandfather
grandpa?
really taught me the basics. Yeah.
Yeah. And like so now there's like this love of the game, right? And then you get a little bit older, and it's not just the love of the game, but it's the love of like the process and like the technique and the mechanics of it, right? You're reading books on how to get better at this thing that you love, so that you can be more in the moment and enjoy it even more thoroughly. And then there's another thing that happens that you talk about really eloquently in the book, about how the mind, the moment, and the practice all kind of come together, and something even more dynamic kind of happens. When was the first time that you can remember, or if you can go back, was there a moment where it changed for you, where it became more than just playing golf, but you really actually realized what was happening here beyond the game itself?
Yeah, I think it was back in the Los Angeles days when I used to, we used to meet after work and play at night at this place called Westchester, right outside of LAX. And, it was all those rounds where we just used to, you just can't stop thinking about it when you're at work. You know you're going to play. And at 7 o'clock, you're going to meet your boys and you're going to go play till 10 p.m. And that's like the beauty of living in a beautiful climate, is you get to do stuff like that. And that's when I started to realize I'm getting more out of this than just getting better. It's just sort of like a place I can release the stresses I have for work, or I don't have to think about, what I'm doing tomorrow. You can really stay present. And then it really started to really, really calcify while I was writing. While I was writing, I started realizing, wow, it got the lessons came in retrospect. It was like, wow, I really got that out of it while I'm writing. And wow, Sun Tzu talks about this, and Thich Nhat Hanh talks about this. And I can dub. And the weird, crazy thing about it was all of those books, the Ryan Holidays, the Stephen Pressfield, who gave me a beautiful testimonial for my book. The Bruce Lees, Wayne Dyers, all of their lessons dovetailed so well with golf. And there really is a correlation between life and golf. There's a correlation between playing your best golf and living your best life. And I hope that I capture that in this book. That's what I would like people to get out of it. It's like a way to meditate through something you love. Meditation in the form of recreation is my coined phrase.
Yeah, and you focus a lot on again the mechanism, like the intention, the processes of what it takes to be successful in golf and in life. Like what were the most profound takeaways for you as you're writing this book, where you're connecting the two? Like what, without giving it away, of course, what are some of the most profound connections you made about what it takes to be, a better golfer, and how you realize that those things kind of translate very beautifully into just life in general, how to be a better human, how to be a better person, father, brother, sister, mother.
Absolutely. That's a great question. Basically, really, it's living with intention, number one, right? Practicing with intention. So this all correlates to the game, but also your life. Understand, what aspects of the game you're working on, and have a clear purpose, for each session you go out there. Make the most of your time, basically. You only have a finite amount of time on Earth, and you only have a finite amount of time in your golf round. So what are you doing to make the best of it, right? Then the other one would be focus on the present. The key to enjoying the game is to play well is to really be in the now, or else you really can't be effective. Same thing with life, right? You got to really to be very effective and to be at your apex and to be at your best. You really do have to be in the now. You don't see a boxer thinking about his girlfriend while he's taking, a right hook to the chin. So you really do need to be there, be here now, essentially. That's like a Technohan lesson. Like you said, it's a childlike state too when you get into that now state, where paradoxically, when you stop thinking about playing good golf, you play better golf. It's just the way it is. Then there's embracing the mental game. Mindfulness goes beyond physical mechanics. It's techniques like visualization and positive self-talk improves your focus. So there's tangible ways to get to this place of zen or flow. And then there's accepting imperfection, right?
Mhm.
Letting go of the need to be perfect. You're not going to hit a perfect shot. You're going to miss. You're going to make mistakes. You're going to have to deal with an annoying playing partner. A lot of things are going to happen during your
Right.
round and during your life. They're going to throw you off your game, and it's up to you to stay within what you can control to be your best. And then it's about enjoying the journey. Focus on the process of playing and improving rather than just the outcome. Focus on the journey, celebrate the small wins, find joy in being out there all together. Like, if you are lucky enough to go out and play golf with your friends or your dad still, which I'm not, or your grandfather, which I'm not, right? Or your best friends, then you're luckier than most, and enjoy that. And I think a lot of people don't have that perspective. And also, like, get your head out of your phone, look around and look at the trees and look at nature and do what human beings were meant to do, 400,000 years ago. So those are the main tenets of the book, essentially.
Out of those, out of the, the teachers and the authors that you've kind of mentioned, do you have one that's a standout that you kind of like dive into more than another? Is there anything that kind of stands out to you about something that allows you to kind of combine all of these things uh, inside of one teaching that you enjoy the most?
There is, beyond Harvey Penick, who I love, and he's a golf teacher from Texas that taught many, many really great golfers and pros. And I based a lot of my book on his Little Red Book, which were beautiful musings and lessons about the game of golf. But mainly I would say Neville, because I was reading a lot of Neville during the time I was writing this. And Neville resonates with me, immensely. And his speaking on consciousness, how consciousness is our own reality, and it's the only place we really all dwell, made all the sense in the world,
Yeah.
to me. The way he explains his law of assumption and being in the hypnagogic state, and how you can kind of hypnotize yourself, into, programming your subconscious to manifest the life you want, or live the life you want, or change beliefs, is profoundly impactful, specifically when you're an athlete,
Yeah.
you know.
Uh,
So
yeah, this audience is definitely going to be very familiar with these ideas and these teachings. The teachings of Neville at any level are profound.
mhm.
Now, are there certain aspects of that teaching, the law of assumption, the living from the end, seeing it from the end, and then doing what is being asked of you to kind of line up with that state? Like, are there things inside of your golf game that you focus on specifically when you're trying to get better, like the falling asleep at night with the
Yeah.
vision of what you're wanting, like going through the motion and the mechanics of like the perfect swing and imagining it, like, is this something you still do? Like, are you an avid person who lives from this place? Is that something that you would like recommend?
Absolutely. I do it for a lot of different things, not just golf, but I do have a story in my book called Play in Your Sleep.
Yeah.
And I talk about this. And, a lot of this comes from Emile Coué, the French philosopher who really kind of was the introducing force of autosuggestion and self-autosuggestion. And, I talk about going into that hypnagogic state, which is, for people who are listening who don't know what that is, it's that half drowsy, half asleep space you're in right before you go to bed, right before you go to sleep, and you're just about to pass out. And that's a really, really opportune time for you to directly access your subconscious, because your consciousness is not exactly in control anymore. But the key, and I think Neville was really good at this because he was an actor. The key here, and this is what makes it a little more difficult for other people, is to be purposeful in your thought process. You really have to be, stringent with your mind and what you're thinking about, and then have an idea of what it is and have a visualization of what it is in your mind that you want to be, and then live from that space, and then just play a picture, like be the Truman Show. That's what I say in my book. It's like the Truman Show. And but you're there. You're not really looking at yourself. You're actually living it. And I think that it really does work, because everything that's ever really come about in life is always an idea first. You've always heard this. Everything starts in your head. Our whole lives are lived in our head. Everybody's in their own mental space and we're interacting with each other in these kind of complicated ways, but we're all, in our own mind. And if you can learn to control that in some sort of way, which there are techniques to, and Neville eloquently displays this, there's a way to live a better life through that. And I think that it's really fun to apply that to just golf, because it's a way to practice it for the rest of your life. If you could do it with your golf game, I also talk about scripting. It's the same thing. If you write stuff out, a lot of times it becomes more real. So you can script out your round the next day, like what do you want to do, what you want to shoot, and who you want to play with, and whatever the case is, and watch it come to fruition. And I think those little mind hacks are really important for life. But if you can apply it to golf first, it's a really good small lesson you can learn to be like, wow, I did write I was going to shoot 82 and I did shoot 82. How did that happen?
Yeah.
And you realize, you know what? Say you want to get this. Now you want to make this much money. Say you want to do this and you want to meet this person for your life. Say you want to meet, you want to go on this vacation, and it all works the same way. And I think that's what the main lesson I want to get across.
Yeah. And it's very interesting, talking about scripting and a lot of the other, the ideas that you point to in the book about how to get the most out of these kind of practices inside of golf and other things as well. But it's interesting when you reference, scripting, and we don't often know, or we're not often aware of just how often our mind runs in loops. As far as like, first you have to get kind of clear on what you're wanting. You know what I mean? So in this example, wanting to have increase our score, we'll say, right? Like, get a couple swings off our, off our game, and
lower your score, you mean? But same.
lower your score. Yeah.
I know what you mean.
You know, but if that isn't an intention first, then you're kind of just drifting through life, not asking anything of life, and then you'll get that back, right? You're getting just randomness back.
100%.
Not being
100%.
intentional.
And to add on to that, though, I would add to this specifically with golf, is that a lot of people play and they're already like, I suck anyway, so whatever. So they go into it with that attitude, right? But if you go into it with, like you're saying, a little bit more intention, you have a better opportunity to get a better result and have more fun. You know what I mean? Because a lot of people don't play golf a lot, or they just go out once in a while and they slap it around, and that's cool. But if you really have an intention to play better, there is a way to do that. And I think it starts with your attitude. And I talk about attitude a lot, how like your mood really does create an atmosphere, a thought atmosphere around you. And like that will permeate into everything you do.
Yeah.
So based on same thing you said.
Yeah. So with that, what are some of the things, like whether I'm an avid golfer or not, we want this book to kind of to visit everyone, right, at whatever level that they're at, and get whatever that they can from it. And your best, intention for everyone. What are some of the things that you would want a golfer or a non-golfer to like get by reading this book? Like, what are some of the things that you really would want them to kind of experience from this process of reading your book?
I would want them to demand more of themselves than anybody would, right? I would like you to know that all you have is now. Focus on what you can control. Manage your mindset and manage your emotions. Be more deliberate about going to a feel-good place in your life. I know it's easier said than done, but I think with practice, you get better at it. So you can maybe sometimes stay out of bad moods way more often if you can kind of be a little bit more deliberate about that. And how does that not help the world? One less person on the road raging is one less accident and one less possible death. Things like that. It all is a butterfly effect. All of these things that we're talking about from one individual can change the world. And I think that's why it's so important. It's really about also like continuing that answer, living your best life, living with intention, understanding that the devil's in the details. Like,
tell me a little bit more about that, like the idea, because that's a common phrase, but it's it's very also interesting to use it in this context, right? With any context, but definitely like in the game of golf. What what do you mean when you say the devil's in the details?
Well, I have a story in my book that goes into this, but I talk about how to know yourself, know your capabilities, know your equipment, know how far you hit the ball, practice the different shots that are going to help you score. You know, it's not just going out banging your new driver out on the range. It's really about, you know, you're only going to score with your wedge game and your putting, really. So if you practice those shots, you're immediately going to get better. You know, if you expect to get better at golf, you have to know the little nuances of the game that make you better, the little chipping and the little shots and little short yardage things you need to do to kind of get the ball close to the hole. That's ultimately what it is. You know, you practice the shots you need to score, and that's where the devil's in the details. It's like there's and knowing what you're working with. You know, knowing how you're structuring your practice time. Say you want to get better at hitting your mid irons, which is like 7 to 4 iron type of thing. You know, you want to practice those at the range, and use that time to practice those at the range. Don't mess with a lot of the other things. You can do whatever you want, but I'm saying be intentional about what you want to do, and have fun with it. You know, I think you have fun when you improve. You know, when you're starting to improve on something, you really feel the fulfillment in it. And I think that's what I'm trying to get across here too. Is like when you actually put your time into practicing and being intentional and purposeful in your practice, you get better, and then you have more fun, and then you play more, and then you
Yeah,
keep getting better, you know, and then it becomes
right.
like a big cycle
That's a
of
beautiful cycle
learning.
too.
It's a great cycle. So
Yeah.
like you basically the big takeaway is you have two choices in this life: learn and grow and move forward, or dwell and stand still, which is basically like moving backward. So that's basically that's like the message in a nutshell.
I love that. I love that. And then what, because you said something that's really like interesting to me.
Mm,
And I would say it's enlightening to me in my own life, just because, while we're talking about specifically, the game of golf and the process of golf, like these things are applicable for just about, or literally for anything. And all the listeners here know, like I race motorcycles, I've raced for
yep.
a really, really long time. And like I can kind of combine these two ideas because um not only can I apply the things that you wrote in the book to my own right personal life, they like transcend all of any kind of separate life. These are
Right.
life lessons that you are using the game of golf to kind of express,
It
right?
can go for anything, right?
Right.
Any activity at all.
And then combining that with the idea of doing the things like no, your self-awareness, like with the devil in the details, and talking about like practicing the shots that no one practices, doing the things that aren't like necessarily conventional, or the things that you don't want to do, meaning like I have to go out, and if I want to be the best that I can in the sport that I am trying to excel at, I can't just go out when it's sunny and the track is perfect and it's groomed
Right.
amazingly and my bike's in the best shape. Like what does today look like? And it's like, okay, so I have to go out today. The track is gnarly. My bike, you know what I mean? Like, here's the equipment that I'm on. Here's the mindset that I'm in. Let me try to change that. Let me go out and like do the things, ride in the mud. You know why? Because people don't like to ride in the mud. So when it's muddy and I show up and it's pouring rain, like I'm in a great mindset because I'm prepared and I'm ready. And people are so, I hate the mud. This sucks. And I'm like, I love the mud. I'm ready to go. I
Right.
automatically have an edge. So when your experience with inside of the game of golf, what with the people that you've played with, like you're a very observant person also, and you literally are, I can now say you've literally written the book on this. What, as you look around and you see, you play with different people, all different levels of life, what would you say like the percentage of people who are willing to do that, to play outside of the box, if you will, to try different things, or when it looks like the ball's not where they want it, like are they able to just be like, okay, I got this. I'm going to make the best shot that I can with, but like, what percentage of people do you see in your experience that actually do that?
That you mean accept what is with
Accept what is, work
grace?
with what they have, try different things. You know what? I'm going to practice this weird shot that I'll probably never have to make, but in case I do have to make it, I'm going to be ready. Like,
It's a percentage is a tough answer, but a lot of times it's older players, people that are more mature, or even seniors. They've been there, done that, and they kind of know where their limitations are, and they've accepted it and know what they're doing.
mm,
And then other times it's a lot more savvy players who know their game really well, and know the mistakes they make, and know that, this is golf. Like, you're not going to hit every shot perfect, and it's like life. You're going to have to just play where it lies and move it forward where you can, the best you can. Those are the two I really see. And then, obviously a lot of people get frustrated. It's a frustrating game. So you see a lot of frustration, but a lot of people are also super appreciative to be out in a country club or a beautiful green field playing golf in a sunny day a lot of times. And So you get a lot of people in good moods anyway there. But I think the percentages, I would say, it's like a more seasoned player, and then a lot more of an elderly, older player, more mature,
Yeah.
more understanding of life and their limits in life, that are really good at it. They're really good people to teach from. I have a story in my book called "A Word to the Wise Is Enough." My ode to Ben Franklin in my book. That was his saying. And listen to the old timers at the course. Listen to them talk. Listen to their stories. Ask them about their grip. Get something out of it. Because the thing about golf is there's you play better when there's a philosophy behind it. You can understand the technical aspects, and that's why this book is more than just teaching you how to play better golf. It's more of a mental game, really. So if you understand the philosophical aspect of some of the ways things evolved, or the way the game evolved, or some stories of Seve won the Masters. Seve Ballesteros was a great Spanish player, just FYI.
Mhm.
These little things, to know these golf personalities, it just makes you better because you appreciate what came before you. And I really think that's really important. It gets lost in today's society anyway, even like with basic civics and American history or whatever the case is. Like, people don't understand or forget what we were founded upon, type of thing. So I think that when you really understand the history of a sport and the nuances of that, you start appreciating it differently, which makes you feel like a little more part of it. And then that's when you sort of, like you said in your previous question, that's when you can understand that, hey, like, I hit a bad shot, but you know what? What would Phil do right now? What would Seve do? What would Tiger do right now? You just kind of walk through the gate of regret and move forward. And I think that's like one of the bigger takeaways.
Yeah. Do you have any stories that you can pull from in your life? Like, I'm just interested to know, like, where your day, because this is also kind of using it to combine what we're teaching, what you're talking about here, and life in general, and
Mhm.
how it can apply from one. Do you have any stories, like, just from your own life, of where you maybe uh started your day one way, and then your game was going in that direction, maybe not in the best direction, right? Like, you let life come in and it's affecting your game and it's affecting your mindset. And then all of a sudden, something, you were able to make that switch, and you started to see the improvement. And by the end of the game, you had a totally different outcome because you applied these things. Like, do you have any like standout moments in your life where basically the idea of this book kind of manifested itself from like an experience?
There's not a specific round that really comes to mind right now, but a lot of times it's an up and down. So like a lot of times, like, you start off great and then you hit a bad shot and then you're in a bad mood for another hole or two because you're like in a funk and you haven't really figured out your swing, and then you get back to it and you feel a little bit better, and then you're back to the bad swing, and then so a lot of times it's a constant battle of figuring out what you're capable of that day. Like, you got to kind of go with what you got. Sometimes you don't really have your swing. You don't know why the ball's going where it's going. You swing, you feel like you're swinging the same thing, and you don't have like a pro teaching you on the 17th hole being like, yo, this is what you've been doing. Like,
Right.
so you got to figure it out on your own. I mean, sometimes you have a friend, but it's a lot of, you're not listening to your friend's advice sometimes,
Ah,
right? So there's a lot of instances where you're just kind of, it's just a reminder that you're left with your own devices and you just got to figure it out on your own and accept what is. Sometimes you might not be playing that great and maybe you can scrap out a good score. Sometimes you're playing, you don't think you're playing great. Your swing is perfect and you shoot horrible. It's just a question of putting together consecutive good shots in a row, and then like the shots that actually count. You can make no putts in a day and play and feel like you played horrible, but you swung well, or you can swing horrible, make every putt you line up and your score looks a little different. So the golf is like a really strange game because there's a different way to center every time. So it's I don't know if that really fully answers your question,
It
but I
does.
think that
It does, because it brings out, like, it brings out the point of, like, even the title of the book, right? So, like, in your description, and why what you've written in the book is so important, because it's, we kind of like say it even without saying it. And I can actually point to this in a motocross context too. And I think that's why it's so important, because it crosses every different, activity, if you will. But even in
yes,
the description, you're like, yeah, you might go out and it might start great, and then you have one that's off, and then your next three shots are shot because
right,
you're worried about that one. That was that. And so, like, it's literally an example of, like, our expectation of what, this thing that we think shouldn't have gone the way. This shot shouldn't have gone the way that it, went. That lap was a terrible lap, or I made a mistake, or over there. Like, to allow your mind to not let go of that thing that happened will ruin your next lap, and it will ruin your next 3 shots.
Yep.
If you can apply these things that you're talking about in the moment that it's happening, because you're not going to, like the Stoics, it's not necessarily saying that you're going to have a perfect shot all the time if you do these things. It's more a mechanism for, like, yes, getting better, but also, like, when life is coming at you and when the game doesn't go the way that you want, like, what is your snapback? How quickly can you get yourself back in line, back in balance, back in the moment, back in your meditative state, so that you
Yep.
can have the
Yep.
best shot the next time around, to do the best that that shot could be given the circumstances that you're in. When I'm worried about the lap that I just made a mistake, I ruin my next 2 laps. Whereas if I have this, what you're talking about here in the book, if I have that process over such repetition in my life that it becomes an unconscious process, my next 2 laps aren't ruined. Those next shots aren't ruined. And then you have a better ability to not just navigate the game of golf or your activities that you love, but life in general. So your answer was literally perfect, according to what I was looking for.
And there's also really tangible ways to do these things as well. Like, use the natural elements on the course for aromatherapy. Go take the lavender you see and put it to smell your hands, and like kind of like offer it to your limbic system and sort of get yourself back into a more flow state like that. You can, take a break and drink your lemon water and kind of have half of your sandwich and chill out and just kind of take, like, you can't do it with motocross, but with golf, you can take a little time,
Yeah.
to allow yourself to walk through the gate of kind of regret and annoyance to
Yeah.
get back to some place that's a little bit better. It's also like, and also stop defining it as good or bad.
Right.
You don't need to define anything as good or bad. We always define everything like that, right? Every time you think about something, it's either one or the other. But the key is to just say tranquilo about it and don't even worry about defining anything and just keep moving forward. You can make par from anywhere. So one of the examples, it's funny you say that, because I am recalling a round. I was in Monterey last summer for my friend's birthday, and we were playing the links at Spanish Bay, which is a beautiful course on the peninsula. And I had a beautiful drive on the first hole, and my second shot went a little wayward right, but it was actually not a bad shot. But for some reason, I was so bothered by the fact that I was in this brush, and I ended up making a 6 on a par 5, and I know, and I was already I was already right next to the green in 2, and I should have been up and down for at least I should have made par there, right?
Mhm.
And it destroyed my next 4 holes. And I couldn't get anything right. I was so, I look back and I still don't know why, knowing this, I wrote the book. See, even though I wrote the book, it's
Sure.
still a work in progress.
Sure.
And, I had to figure out a way to walk through the gate. So I was taking deep breaths, looking at the Monterey beautiful water that I was on, and listening to the bagpiper blow his pipes on the course neck and the fairway next to me.
Yeah.
And little things like that brought me back to the center, where I was like, all right. And then I'm out visiting my buddy I used to live in LA with, up north, hanging out with him. Like, this is like 15 years of friendship. Like, why are I not grateful for that? And we don't get to play like once or twice a year we play together. So, that's what you just got to take conscious control sometimes. A lot of times it's so easy to spin out of control in a day. And I think that's one of the things this book has taught me and is helping, and it will hopefully help other people, is to not spin out of control, take control of your mind a little bit more so, and live a purposeful life.
And you touched on something, especially with the game of golf, and, like, even it's like, I would say, like, symbolically what's wrapped around, like, the leisure of it, right? Like, the unbelievable competitive nature of, like, a golf game. Everything matters, right? Everything matters, to have the lowest score, right? You want the lowest score that you
Yeah.
can.
Yeah. Yeah.
Everything matters, from, your mindset, your technique, your visualization, your follow through, how you respond after whatever happens. Like, all of that matters to give you the best result for you. And it's just so interesting when you're talking about gratitude in that, because for the people that I know that play all of the time, the one thing that they talk about all of the time is how grateful they are that they get to have, like, the scenery is beautiful. Like, a golf, think about the most beautiful place you can, and most of the time it's wrapped around a golf course.
It's
Like,
true.
the scenery, the natural kind of calm. It's such a polarizing thing, because it's so calm, but it's also, like, uh so intentional.
Well, what's going on inside, right? Like, all these humans are walking on this beautiful land, and they're all perturbed about
Each
their
person's living,
shots.
right. Each person's living in their own. It's a great place to find that polarity. That you know what I mean. You are in the most perfect place. It's a game. There's a word that I'm looking for, and I can't. I mean, no one's forced to do this, right? It's like a complete
Right.
like, dude, you're going out to
You
play golf,
volunteered to do this. You
right?
chose to pay $350 to come out on this course
Right,
and make yourself mad.
right.
And that's what you, yeah,
No one's
exactly.
forcing you. You're in this beautiful place. Like it's as serene and peaceful as it could possibly be. So like what is your mind state in that environment? Like it really would be a place where the chaos of what we'll call regular life would be, I would imagine, really apparent. It would be a version of meditation for me. It would be a version of meditation, even though you're intentional and you're focused on something. The calm nature and the contrast to whatever life might be is really going to show up when you are like, I have nothing literally to worry about. I have to play my best game.
But I will say though, when you compare it to motocross or hockey or basketball or any sport, the difference is with golf though, and the biggest challenge and really the biggest thing is there's so much time between shots.
Right.
You have time to take it in, but you also have time to stew.
Right.
You have time to have a conversation. You have time to get even more mad about what you did because you got to still wait for three other people to hit before you even hit, and that might be 10 minutes before you even get your club out that you need.
Right.
So that's where the challenge is. The challenge is like, how do you keep yourself in a zone that long? It really does take. So it's like you have this moment, you hit your shot, and you have like say 10 minutes between your next shot because you're playing with other people and it's slow, whatever the case is. And then you have to get yourself in the zone mindset for about 15 seconds. So you grab your club, you measure up your shot, you do your pre-shot routine, you measure it out, you look where you want to hit it, you set up and you aim and you fire. And that's like a 15-second thing, 20-second thing, right? And you got to make sure that you find those 20 seconds every single shot.
Yeah.
And that's what's so challenging. It's like sometimes you're thinking about other things and you have the time to worry. And then when
Right.
you're in motocross, you don't have time to worry. It's a
Not out,
millisecond.
not when you're out there. No,
No,
definitely
you
not.
just don't have time. So like you have to be in the present or else you're going to wipe and hurt yourself. Same with
Correct.
surf. So in golf, that element of second millisecond to millisecond action doesn't really exist. It's in intervals, and that's what makes it so uniquely strange. And that's what makes it correlate to life a little differently too,
Sure.
because that's what life kind of plays out like in the real world, you know?
Yeah, I agree. That's a great point. That was a great point. All right. So now who would you say, like, what would you say your target audience is for this book? We have a wide array of listeners out here. What is the target, would you say, where this book will land?
Well, obviously it's for golfers, but it's also for non-golfers. Now, I would say the number one audience would be golfers who love the game already, who want to improve. If you love the game already and your game is at a plateau, the mental game is the differentiator. Don't even think twice about that. It's really what that is. And then you find another way to practice and you find another access way, and it hopefully will bring you down the rabbit hole of other golf books that can help you and other techniques that will help you. The mental game is the biggest difference maker. It's a mind hack book, essentially. The second one is anybody into self-help. This is influenced by so many self-help gurus that anyone who's into self-improvement, especially those who read the authors I mentioned earlier, like Wayne Dyer and Alan Watts and Carolyn Mace and Bruce Lee and those guys, will all enjoy this book because essentially those are the same lessons infused into a game, which is kind of fun and clever, if I do say so. I think it'll add a smile to your day reading it and seeing how it dovetails into that. And also it's for former pro athletes or former athletes who played other sports who want to get into golf. All athletes I know, they talk about the mental game, right? The mental game is the key. Mindset is key. So this helps you get into that mindset. And the mental game in life is the key to living harmoniously, right? That's what it's about. And it's about bringing out your zone and bringing out your best in sports and in life. So these are ways to kind of access those. There's scientific ways you can access these places in your life. And this book helps guide you there.
Well, I love that, man. I love it. And I really enjoyed reading it. And more importantly, I really enjoyed having you on. I think this was such a great conversation. And I think it's going to, I think not only will the conversation benefit so many people, but I think that, anyone who finds this book will find some level of insight that they can not only improve in the game of golf or in whatever activity that they're choosing to kind of engage in, but also in their life in general. And I think that is the mark you're looking to leave. Where will people be able to find you, and where will they be able to find this book? When is it coming out? How is this process unfolding for you?
Well, the book will be out for pre-sale before Memorial Day, sometime at the end of May. And the big retail release will be probably August, September. So I'll be everywhere. It'll be Amazon, Barnes and Noble. It'll be in Barnes and Noble. My website they're building out is called thejohnrota.com. It should be live in about a month or so. It will be, you'll be able to buy the book there, and obviously Amazon as well. I prefer people to buy it from my website because, it's an experience. But that's where it's all, anywhere books are sold essentially is where it can come.
Perfect. And if you could pinpoint the most powerful takeaways, what do you want anyone who is experiencing this book and what you've written and your insight, what would you like them to take away from it?
The number one thing is to have fun and enjoy life. That's number one, and zig when everybody else is zagging. Go analog when everybody's digital. Everybody's talking about AI, and a couple years ago it was NFTs, and it's blockchain, and it's crypto, and it's social media, and it's TikTok, and it's endless news feeds. Like, just put it down and grab a club and go outside and swing a couple, hit a couple balls and just relax. Sometimes the problems you have dissipate when you find that meditation in the form of recreation, and you find that space inside yourself, that it's outside of nature. I think, get back to nature, find the mental health and what our ancestors did thousands and thousands of years ago. We were meant to not see brick buildings and granite. We were really meant to see greenery and lakes and oceans. Get out of your inbox, go to the fresh air. That's sort of my takeaway. Go to the water. It's more powerful than we really know. And to live with intention. Don't react to what is. Create the life you would like. Play the best golf you can play. Play the best life you can play. Be the best person you can be. And that's what I'm striving to do every day. And that's what I've written as a message in this book. And I hope that other people read it and get that out of it.
I love that, man. I really do. And I'm truly grateful that you took the time to come on the show and share yourself and your insight and this book with our audience. And I hope you come on again sometime soon.
Oh, thanks, Pat. I really appreciate being on. I've been looking forward to this for quite some time. And I thank you very much for having me as a guest.
Absolutely, man. Hope you have the best day. And look for John's information below this episode. We'll put all the links up there and all the places that they can find you. And as the release kind of continues to update, we'll update our links as well. So make sure you listen to this episode a few times and check back with us. Till next time, have an amazing day, a wonderful night. We'll see you guys again.